Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Batha in Chad. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, if you're not, welcome. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that in these videos, typically we look at the map and then go to Google Earth to look at places in more detail with more pictures. So you get your map tracing portion and then you get the Google Earth portion, which you guys really seem to love. But sometimes I do map only, sometimes I do Google Earth only. I do map only when the Google Earth pictures aren't great. I do Google Earth only when my map is not great. In this case, it is both. As you can see down here, this map of Batha is cut off right there. There's not much there, but it's enough to irritate me. I don't like that. And then the other map that I have that has part of Batha only has like this bottom half, so that's even worse. So I'm like, oh, okay, it's going to be Google Earth only. But then the pictures in Google Earth are pretty much non-existent. So I thought, great, I have a terrible map and no pictures on Google Earth. So I went to my brother-in-law and asked him for advice. I said, what should I do? Should I do map only or Google Earth only? And he said, why not both? And I was like, that's a brilliant idea. Let's just do both. So here I'm going to throw in some video of Google Earth. So you can see in the video here where Chad is located in the world, because I think that's important to show you. Because not a lot of people know where Chad is, even though a lot of people know of Chad because it's a fantastic name, right? Chad is located technically in Central Africa, but it's in the northernmost part of Central Africa. Batha in particular has a lot of the Sahara Desert in the north, and in the center part has the Sahel. You can kind of see on this map the S and A of the Sahel. The Sahel region is where the Sahara Desert starts to meet with the lush rainforest in Central Africa and the Congo. So it's a mix of various different temperatures and biomes. It can be rocky and dry. It could be humid and forested. It could be wet. It could be rivery, thick with jungle, barren and rocky. It can be all kinds of things. The Sahel is really a hodgepodge and it's really quite beautiful. And most of Batha is in the Sahel, including the capital city you can see right here of Ati, which is not really a city. They're all very small towns here in Batha. The only real geographic feature to mention in Batha other than the Sahara and the Sahel is Lac Fitri, or Lake Fitri in English, which you can see right here on my map. I'll throw up Google Earth here to show you Lake Fitri. Lake Fitri is a lot like Lake Chad, which is the namesake of the country, obviously. Chad meaning lake in one of the native tongues here, so Lake Chad is literally lake. That's a fun fact for you. But Lake Fitri is a lot like Lake Chad in that it is really not doing well. You can actually see Lake Chad in the corner of the map here. And you can see how it's all kind of dotted. Lake Fitri is the same. That is because this lake has pretty much dried up. There will be rainy seasons where the rains will come down in torrential floods and the lake will fill back up and even fill up to 3 times its normal size. And then during the dry seasons, it will be completely dry. And you can see all of the various rivers throughout here. Most of these are wadis. And wadis are pretty much the same. During the wet season, it's a flowing full river, and during the dry season it is an empty dry riverbed. This is, oh gosh, did I write down the name of this river? I don't think I did. I think it's just the Ati River, to be honest. But it seems to be an actual river. It seems like it actually stays full for the most part, which is why the main city is there. And that is pretty much the basic geography of Batha. Now, like in many places I've covered in Africa recently, I don't have much history of this area to tell you, but I can tell you why that is, and that is because the population of this region of Chad, and most of northern Chad actually, was made up of Berber peoples. Berbers are nomadic peoples. Really fascinating culture also. Just throwing that out there. But they, for the longest time, not until probably the early 1900s, they didn't settle down and build cities. They were complete nomads, following the camels around, herding them around to different watering holes, and they would meet up in different areas to trade. The Berbers, not the camels. Well, they trade camels, but the camels aren't trading nothing. So all of the little towns you see here on this map were meetup spots for the Berber peoples. And when the French came and colonized, they forced them to settle down. So all of these meeting spots became towns. So that is why there's not a lot of history here per se, just because it's hard to track that kind of history. It's hard to follow those events, isn't it? When it's not concrete, set in stone. The only real, fact that I found here in Batha was the Battle of Ati, which took place on May 19th, 1978. That was during the Chadian-Libyan War, which was the start of a series of wars between Chad and Libya. Now, why were Chad and Libya fighting? Libya is its neighbor to the north here. Let me try to bring this down to carefully show you. Oh goodness, I have to go like this. Sorry for the squeaks. There we go. This part right here, the Aouzou Strip, you can see is right here along the border between Libya and Chad. This is Libya up here. Here's Chad, the Aouzou Strip. Let me carefully bring it back down to Batha so you can see Ati. Carefully. Oh, am I going to be able to do it? It take me a while to set the shot up because it's so precarious. I'm knocking things over all over the place. Okay, here's Ati. Boom. Okay, did it. Okay. You saw the Aouzou Strip up there. So, Libya, at this time in the early 1970s, was a very powerful force to be reckoned with in northern Africa. Chad, not so much. Chad was recently gaining its independence from France and finding its footing. Libya was a real powerhouse led by Muammar Gaddafi. And Libya was inserting itself into Chadian politics more and more until they slowly were pretty much not running the country, but heavily influencing the country. Libya decided, hey, we should own the Aouzou Strip. That should be part of Libya. They had all this historical reasons behind it. They wanted to start claiming Chad. And really, there's not really a lot up there. It's the Sahara. It's mostly rocks and sand. But if they had claimed that, then they'd be like, well, then we want all of the entity, and then we want Batha, and then we want N'Djamena, and so on and so forth. It was basically step one in their grand invasion and takeover of Chad. So Chad did not want that, obviously, and they went to war over it. So kind of early in the war, the Libyan army had made its way all the way down to Ati here, and they faced off against the Chadian army that was assisted by the French Foreign Legion, and the Libyans wound up winning out in that battle. They progressed further south. Eventually, the war was ended through negotiations, being like, hey, listen, cool your jets, Libya. And working out agreements with France, because Chad was still very heavily relying on France. There were other wars. The very most famous one, I'd say, would be the Toyota War. Look that up. Doesn't involve this region, but it's the one that stands out the most because of the name. Probably for the reasons that you would guess. And I think it was in the sorry for the car outside, I'm filming a little earlier than usual. And I think it was in the late 1990s when Libya went to the International Court to have them decide who the Aouzou Strip would belong to, and they said it was part of Chad, and that really ended the conflict for good. Now there's no real hate, I can tell, between Chad and Libya to this day. Gaddafi is long gone. The dynamics are very different in Libya today, and Chad too. The only other information I found about Batha was that gold was discovered in the region in 2016. Apparently, the Chadian government did all that they could to keep a gold rush from happening and overwhelming the region, so I don't think much came from it. And that is all I have for you on the history of Batha. Unfortunately, I don't have any cool pictures to show you in these towns because they're very small. There's some pictures in the Ati region of some of the agriculture in the area, which is nice. I would highly encourage you to go check it out for yourself. Always go play on Google Earth whenever you're bored. It's the best tool you can have on any device because it's so thought-provoking and educational and really opens your eyes to the world. There's not even any pictures of Lake Vitry. It's really sad because from what I can tell, it looks pretty neat when it's full of water. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. We're going back to regular style videos. Next time we're heading over to Kyrgyzstan, where we're going to have map portion and Google Earth portion. We're going to talk about the Fergana Valley, one of the most beautiful corners of Central Asia. We're going to talk about an ongoing conflict that you may not have heard of, that's a real powder keg in the region between Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. I'm also going to show you a flower that only grows in this specific region of Kyrgyzstan, and it's really interesting. You're not going to want to miss it, so be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. Well, if you learned something new, give this video a thumbs up. Let me know what you learned down in the comments. And I hope that you have a good